Welcome to the New Monks. This podcast is dedicated to those of us on the journey of evolution. Through these episodes, we will dive into the lives of individual people and discover what they have learnt and how they have handled their growth. We believe that we all have wisdom to be shared with each other and can learn from listening to each other's stories. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and Apple Podcasts, Spotify. If you feel like leaving us a review and sharing the love, that would be greatly appreciated. Hello and welcome back to the New Monks podcast. I am Jane Muller, episode 22. Here with Cassandra, we talk about, it's really just the process of how she has been handling, based in Canada at the moment, what has been going on in the world. And so we discuss how she was in an abusive relationship for quite a few years, and then to build up the strength and courage to step away from that. And then just before the lockdown hit, and then being able to see the similarities between what she can see that is unfolding in the government with that, with her abusive relationship, and recognizing that something just doesn't feel right. And then we just talk about how her process continued to develop further into realizing how things are really conditioned in us to be really back to front. And then we discuss the future possibilities and outcomes, and how we can continue to find freedom within it all. Enjoy. Okay, so
Hello. Let's stage it open her.
nice.
Hello. All right.
Thank you so much for being here and open and willing to share your story. So
Thank you so much for having me.
So how I begin is just, if we just take a few deep breaths in and out, and then we shall commence. And then, tell us how you're feeling right now.
Heavenly. Nice to connect. Nice to be connecting to someone today. Yeah. For the past 2 days, I've been pretty just in my phone looking over this election, and yeah. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, and you're right. I would like to echo that, actually. Nice to be connecting with, definitely. I feel like that's so important right now in these times, I feel like that's
Yeah. Earlier I put on a song as I was getting ready. I put on a Kendrick Lamar song. I forget the one from Black Panther.
Yeah.
Not All the Stars, but the other one, the Black Panther song.
Oh yeah.
Anyways, the lyrics just like so resonated because it's like, well, who's your hero? Look in the mirror. You're your own hero. And yeah, it was just such a nice letting that energy go, because man, Canada, like here right now, it's so dense. I'm in Ontario, which is like the epicenter of the lockdowns. Like we are the guinea pigs. This is where everything's starting in Canada. So it's like Australia. There's a good parallel between us and Australia. We're very similar. And yeah, it sucks to be on social media and seeing all these people say like, oh well, you don't deserve to be, like, it's not your right to go in and dine somewhere at a
Mhm.
restaurant, like you don't have that right. And basically calling us dirty or disgusting if we don't jab ourselves. So,
Mm,
or we don't, even if you don't disclose, if you decide not to disclose your vaccination status here, um, you're prejudiced. They assume that you're not,
yeah.
and you get treated a different way. Yeah. So the energy is just,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
heavy. It's heavy around here.
Yeah, man, that's so crazy. I think at the moment in London, it's not so it hasn't got there yet anyway. So I'm only seeing things from like Australia, even in the US, some parts, and Canada as well. It looks like it's all just getting really tight. Can't really imagine, yeah, how that really feels, you know?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, the good thing about it is that I've connected with so many people that are on the same journey, on the same trajectory. We feel the same. We see the corruption. We know what's going on. We know the abuse that's happening. So it's good to have that little tight knit community.
Yeah.
But the sad thing is that I'm in these chats and there's all these people. There's men. There's women, and they're crying out for help. They need support. It's a mental health crisis essentially, and it's mind-boggling because it's not normal. It's not normal to hear these conversations going on. Like even just having to think, oh, maybe I should move. Maybe I should flee the country.
Yeah.
Maybe in order to protect my kids, I should leave. And it's like that's not normal. That's not normal conversation. That's
That's
not a normal thought. So in order for somebody to be on that edge to
yeah.
think that, there's something wrong. So yeah, that's
Yeah. That's so
that's a lot. Like I think it's global.
yeah,
That's it.
definitely. Definitely. Obviously, it is like different in different places, but it's an overall theme for sure. But it's amazing that when you say you found community, is it specifically like physically in your location? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. There's lots of
that's
lots
a,
of moms,
yeah, okay.
which is good. Yeah.
So yeah, I think this is obviously well, maybe we can talk about this a bit more because it's such a big thing that's happening in the world at the moment. But I'd also like to hear about, your journey before this whole pandemic hit the world. I don't
Yeah.
know if you'd like to share a bit about that.
Where do I begin?
I
I
know, right? It's
mean,
always like that.
where do I start? Do I go backtracking or do I go from the back and go forward? Um, I mean, growing up, I think the theme of my life essentially has been abuse, and whether it was childhood abuse, domestic abuse, narcissistic abuse. I think that's the big belly, the underbelly going on in my life, and what I got to learn in this life. And that's what pushed me into my own spiritual awakening. So I
Mm,
was in a relationship for um, in total like 5 years, actually, like living with this person. And it wasn't until about the third year that I finally started to like ask questions. And then I would go to the library without him, like he knew, but I would go and I would start like seeking anything. Like I would touch the books. I would go to the library or or chapters, which is our bookstore here, and I was just seeking. I was seeking for an answer because I knew what was happening in my relationship was not okay. It wasn't right. I felt crazy. I was crying. I just knew that something wasn't right. So yeah, I started seeking, and then just when you start seeking, that's when things start coming to you. So I got into
mm.
Joseph Campbell. I don't know if you know Joseph Campbell.
Yeah, I've heard.
Joseph Campbell's work, mythologist. He compares religions and myths. And then I got into Carl Jung, the
I love, yeah.
psychologist, psychoanalyst. Yeah. And that was the basis. And then I had a breaking point in the relationship where my partner, like, he threatened to kill me, and then
Mm,
called the police, and then it was right before Christmas, so it was difficult to. I was shocked. I didn't really know what to do. It's like I, the thing with domestic abuse is that women, we genuinely, like, we love our partners, and when we're in those relationships, we want things to work, especially when you have a child with someone. Like, you at the end of the day, you want things to work, so you'll do anything to try to make it work. um so yeah, the police showed up and um had a conversation. And sorry, police, like, the whole point of calling the police too is like, can you please, like, stop fucking abusing me? Can you just stop? Like, this is serious. Like, I'm gonna call the police. Can you please stop? So that's essentially the undertone too. It's like, just stop. You're hoping that they'll stop. So anyways, police come, and then I told him what happened, and then they separated us. It was just one police, and then he asked me my story, and then he asked um, my partner's his story. He denied everything. And then my partner came inside. The police had left. He gave me a card with their victim services phone number to call. And I put that away. I hid it. I didn't even tell my partner that I had it. I hid it for like 2 years. I didn't use it. I didn't phone anyone because I was in such denial. Anyway, so my partner came in at the time, and he's like, he basically told me, like, why would you tell the cops the truth? Like, why would you do that? Do you want me to lose my job? Do you want me not to be able to because he would travel a lot for his job. He's like, do you not want me to be able to put food on the table for our children? So all of a sudden, it became my problem. It became my fault. And if I was going to call the cops, like, that's the thing with domestic abuse. It's like, well, nobody's gonna help me. So what do I do? And so yeah, that's a form of gaslighting as well.
Yes, that word just came into my mind. Gaslighting. Like,
gaslighting. Yeah. I remember being so frozen, like, what's going on? What do I do? What do I do? And I remember asking the police officer, I'm like, I had my daughter in my arms. She was probably like 2 or 3 at the time. And I was like, what pretend I'm your daughter. Like, what would you tell me? Like, what would you want me to do? And I had like tears in my eyes. I'm like, tell me, please. Like, I'm not lying. I'm not lying. This is not a joke. And the thing is, like, he's like, in the report, they're like, well, the only witness is the daughter, and like, she can't speak. She can't speak to what happened. And it's like, well, my word means nothing.
yeah.
But yeah, he's just like, if you have a friend, family that you can go to, go and do that. But they never called Family and Children Services, which I think is their protocol. They're supposed to do that, but they had never even called that. So anyways, fast forward a couple years of me living that way, and the narcissistic abuse, just like the gaslighting, getting worse and worse, to the point where I didn't really know who I was. But I had a breaking point, and I just thought I thought I was going crazy. And so I finally got a therapist, and I started going to therapy. And even getting a therapist was like a hard thing, because it was always weaponized against me by my partner. Kind of like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
Like, going to therapy means that something's wrong. Something's wrong in our relationship.
Yeah.
And it's like a psychological mindfuck. And then I was like, well, yeah, something is wrong in our relationship, but I didn't know who I was. I wasn't empowered. I was like a zombie. And then when you have so much psychological abuse, you deteriorate. Your brain actually, like, there's studies, like, your brain actually changes when you have so much narcissistic abuse, so much gaslighting. And so, yeah, I started going to therapy, and it was I'd probably say the first 3 months that I went, like, every 2 or 3 weeks. It was just so much crying, so much releasing, so much. I finally had somebody to talk to that wasn't biased, that was just going to listen. And then that was when I found out that I wasn't crazy, that what was happening in my relationship wasn't my fault, that I didn't know what gaslighting was. I had no idea what it was until I started therapy.
Yeah.
So it was beautiful. I spent a year doing that, and then I finally had the balls to leave. We were sitting in a couples counseling session, and then I had brought up the whole scenario with him threatening to kill me because he had never apologized for it and he never acknowledged it. And that's the thing with
Yeah.
people with these type of personalities, is that as long as they can deny it,
Yeah.
like, they're good, right? They're not gonna apologize for it because they don't think they did anything wrong. So yeah, we were in therapy and I brought it up, and that was probably one of the first times that he actually admitted to it, because there was somebody else there. And then that's when I felt like a big release, like, oh my gosh, okay, somebody heard what had happened, like he admitted to it, and he justified it to the therapist. He justified what he did, and he said something like, well, if she was so scared of me, like, she wouldn't have tried to do this and stuff like that. And I was just like, oh, okay. So that's when I knew. That's when I knew. I was like, okay, this is just,
Yeah.
nothing's gonna change. It had been 2 years, I think, since the incident. So then I was like, yeah, it's time to go. And that was the first time I felt safe. And for a woman, like, she needs to feel safe to be able to leave. And then post separation abuse, though, was great. It's a fun time.
What
happens
is it that
after.
made you feel safe? You said.
Pardon?
What is it that made you feel safe?
Somebody else had heard it.
Okay.
Somebody else had heard him, like, admitting to what he did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, now I had that person
Okay. Wow.
to
Yeah.
vouch for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, like, yeah, it would have been different if I would have just left. I think it was just like, it was like a sliver of a safety cushion. Because if he tried to, like, say, for example, like, try to hurt me or kill me after that, there at least be something of weight, of evidence, yeah, there. So it was just like a little bit of a safety cushion. Yeah. But yeah, and then after that, I spent a year doing recovery work, going to therapy, doing recovery with. I started reading everything. I finally called the person on that card,
Wow.
and then, like, after all that time, I had hidden it in a drawer, and then I had finally called them, and I started seeking help. And yeah, it was a great year. So that was 2019 that I had left, like January 2019.
Oh,
And then I did
wow.
my recovery. And then March 2020 was when I was like, really, like, I was in a really good space, and like I had taken this meditation teaching course, and like I was just ready to, like, start a business and just be on my own, be empowered. And then freaking the pandemic, freaking 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and then everything was shut down here. And that's when, like, I think it was about 2 weeks that I was like, okay, like, maybe let's stay home and let's do this. But right away, I was like, hold on,
Mm.
something is up,
Yeah.
because this feels exactly like my abusive relationship. And then, like, even them, all of a sudden, like, they were saying, oh, frontline workers, essential workers, like, it was just like all over the place so fast. The new normal. And I was like, this is fishy. This is so fishy. Yeah, so I was completely re-traumatized. Like, I had been doing all this trauma work, but going through that, I had my ex-partner now, telling me, like, oh, you shouldn't be hanging out with other people. I was alone. Like, when I'm alone, I'm alone. I don't have my kids or anything. And he'd be like, oh, you need to be alone, like, or you can't be seeing other people, that's dangerous. Because we had that, like, you couldn't see anyone here. Like, you weren't allowed to visit anyone. So it was so depressing. So depressing. And I had like, yeah, just more breakdowns, lots of crying in the corner in my kitchen because it was so hard to, yeah, to like be resubjected after so much work. After doing so much work, I had to go back into this like this really restrictive abusive relationship. But now it was wide scale.
Yeah.
Now it was my neighbors and my friends, like we're all in this together. We're all in this abusive relationship with our government together. And oh, it was horrible. That first like 6 months of whatever, it was horrible.
Wow, that's so crazy. Yeah, I mean, thank you so much for sharing and being open about this past relationship. It sounds like a crazy experience to go through, and I'm sorry that you had to experience that. It's yeah.
Made me who I am.
I love that. Yeah,
Thank you to my abusive ex-partner. I would not be here without you.
I feel that as well. Like,
I would have not been able to see through the pandemic without you.
yeah, it's crazy how similar you link it to what's happening now. It's like almost you kind of see the patterns that happened in your relationship, and then it's like, wait a minute, it's kind of happening now. What's going on here? And I guess some people who haven't had that experience, they don't necessarily see that, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure. If you've, yeah, I feel like there's instances like if you've been abused given by like a medical system, in a relationship, by your parents, like if you've have had any of those types of scenarios in your life, I feel like it's much easier for you to see what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you question it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're empowered, if you do trust, if you're at a point in your life where you do trust yourself and you've done the inner work,
Yeah.
it's so much easier to see.
Yes. And I find as well for me, like what happens is I notice the pattern. And if I'm like, for me, relationships have been a huge teacher, you know? And then I notice like what's happening in my relationship in my life. And then I will see this pattern. I'm like, okay, now I know where that goes, you know? And then so next time you can see it much quicker. It's quite crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I feel like it's a deconditioning process as well, because we are subjected to all of this violence through our media, through the news, through TV, through our movies, through all of it. And like, so you're normal, like this is a powerful thing. Like your brain is a powerful thing. Like your psyche is so powerful. It imprints. So if you're normalizing all of that violence constantly, you're going to be desensitized, and it's going to be so difficult in order for you to see things for what they are. You're just gonna be like, oh yeah, that's normal. Oh, that kid wearing a mask all day, 9 hours a day, that's normal, no problem, you know? So unless, it's the system. It's designed that way.
It's so true.
They've conditioned us this way in order to normalize and to desensitize us, to flip things around completely. So the innocent becomes ugly and evil.
Yeah. So when the whole lockdown happened at the beginning, like in 2020, I guess it's just losing track of time these days with all this.
Yeah, seriously.
Do you think so? With the you started seeing things, and you were like, "Hang on, this doesn't feel right." And then, do you think that was another moment for you to really dig deeper and to see, hang on, like to see a bit clearer what's happening in the world, or did you have some of that already, or
So, well, I don't think I had really gone down any rabbit holes actually prior to 2020. I'm like a young babe in that sense. But one night I was like on TikTok, because TikTok was like huge in 2020. And what I loved about TikTok is that, it wasn't really as censored. It wasn't censored back then in 2020. I don't know how it is now because I got rid of it because I spent like all freaking day going like this because it's amazing. But TikTok. I was scrolling through it one day, and then I found this girl, and her name's Lauren, and she was just, I don't know. I don't know if she was dropping truth bombs or whatever, but like she really resonated with me, and I was like she just sparked my whole body. My body was like, ooh, okay, who are you? I like you. And then I contact her right away. I'm like, because I just knew this is the next step. This is it. This is the next thing. So I contact her. I'm like, oh my God, I have to work with you. Like, what are you doing? And then she's a coach. She's a manifestation coach. And like I'd call her, she's a mirror. She's really like a consciousness mirror. She mirrors everything to you. She lets you see you. And then so I contacted her, and then I signed up for one of her programs. And she ignited. She basically ignited the whole spiritual awakening. I feel like, because she posted. Do you know that movie? Is it called Wave? Is it called The Wave or something like that?
I don't
It's
think
like a wave. Oh man, I wish I knew what it was called. But she posted a movie on her Instagram, and then I watched that, and that was like all about the corruption in our world. And
wow.
the rest is history. After that, it was just like everything coming in,
Wow.
everything like through just through her, because she's had done so much work. She has been through her spiritual awakening. She's done it all, and now she's out there, helping other people. So everything came in. I started listening to Luke's story. That's how I found Jared. Who else? There's so many people. Oh, Taylor from Australia. You know her, right? Tazeway.
No.
Tazeway.
No.
Tazeway. She's like a big activist in Australia. She's a mom.
Okay.
And she does like vaccine information as well. So yeah, it was like after that, it was amazing and depressing, and all that stuff that comes with spiritual awakening. But
Yeah, right.
after that, yeah. Oh my gosh, didn't think I was gonna get through it.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I always think that like this is a freaking crazy time to be seeing what's happening in the world. It's just so intense right now, I mean, that's if you're seeing it, because if you're not, then I guess you're not, right?
Sometimes, do you ever just sit there and try to put yourself into a different mindset of like that space where you don't see things? Do you ever try to?
I don't know.
I mean, like, do you ever try to go to ignorance is bliss? Do you ever try?
Yeah, it's hard. It's that whole thing. It's like once you see things, you can't unsee them. There's no going back,
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah. I sometimes I try to put myself in their like in somebody else's shoes, and like I get it. Like I feel like I get it. It's like, because that's how I used to be.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. Yeah,
I used to be there. We've been there.
Yeah.
So we know. And it's always been like, I've always been like, okay, like how do I help people? Like how do I help them awaken? And it's like I've learned that you just gotta do you.
Yes.
You just gotta trust you, and you just gotta be you, and you just gotta do you.
Yes.
And then that'll just emanate.
Yeah, that's
hopefully.
so true. Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I first was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. Like, oh my God, everyone. And then it's like, people just not interested.
You're crazy.
Yeah.
Like I had family calling me tinfoil hat. And I'm like, thanks.
What's
I like it.
What's tinfoil hat?
Tinfoil hat is like it's a derogatory term for somebody that's like awakened, like a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, that's the whole other thing as well. I mean,
because I guess it's like, I don't, what is the whole point of it? Like it's like so that people can't hack your brain, right? So you put the tin foil hat on so nobody can come in and invade it.
Okay.
Which I feel like we kind of need them now that we have like so many EMFs.
Love that. So maybe it was like mid 2020, then you started coming into all this other information, just like, whoa, deeper.
Yeah, and then it was just surrounding myself with all these truthers, all these seekers. I feel like the hardest part though is letting go of control and letting go of people, letting go of friends,
Wow, yeah.
I feel like that because like you want to take them along with you for the ride, but they're not ready to get in. So it's a tough situation. But then you gain so many other friends, and I think yeah. So if anybody's in that middle stance, it's like, oh, I don't want to let go.
Yeah.
On the other side, like those people, those are your soulmates, those are your soul folk, those are the people that are here to be on the journey with you.
Yeah.
And it's so beautiful once you get to that.
What how did you like handle that process of having to let go of people?
How did I handle it?
Yeah, it's a tricky one, you know.
I don't I mean, like spiritually it was, I don't know. I feel like it's just organic. It just happens organically once you allow it. Once you, because it was really just me just trying to force things to happen. But once I like let it go,
Yeah.
it just happens.
Yeah.
It just flows.
Yeah, not holding on so much and just allowing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I always find that's like
Yeah.
quite a big shift all of a sudden. But you're right. Then all of a sudden you find yourself with similar minded people and it's like, whoa, how did I get here?
Telegram's been amazing for that because like there's so many channels on there that are just truther channels and like, oh, beautiful. Yeah. What was I gonna say? I've been lucky that my parents have always been pretty, I don't know, they've always questioned everything, especially inoculations. So I'm actually not fully inoculated in some things. And I never knew why. They never really explained to me why. Until even when I had kids, they're like, oh, don't do this one. Just you can do this one, not this one. And I was like, but why? But they never educated me. And so that was a big awakening this year is learning about that and the cognitive dissonance when it comes to those things because you go into a doctor's office and you know you're taking your child like I have kids. Do you have kids? Do you have
No.
kids? No. Okay, so here in Canada, like you take your kids to their checkups at 2 months, 4 months, 6 months, and then they're going to do their inoculations. And then the thing is that they don't like they tell you what it is for if you ask. You
Wow.
have to ask.
Yeah.
It's not voluntary information. They
Mm,
don't tell you anything. If you want to know something, you have to go in there and you have to be prepared to ask and you have to have your questions. But otherwise, they just knock it up in there. Well, that's it. And then
mm,
they leave you. I didn't, you know, I didn't know that they leave you in the doctor's office for 15 minutes to see if you have an allergic reaction. I didn't know that. I didn't know that's why they just left us chilling in there after inoculations. Did you know that?
no. What?
Yeah. So when you get injected
Yeah.
at the doctor's office, they let they leave you alone in the room for 15 minutes to make sure that you don't have a reaction to the inoculation. Yeah. So I didn't know that. And then just reading about all these horror stories, all these mothers going through all this, you know, losing babies, losing or having their child be injured after vaccination is just so. It was sad. It was sad to see because you never hear about it. It's not
Yeah.
on the mainstream media.
Yeah.
It's not there. And then there was a Google whistleblower on Project Veritas talking about how like they were told to censor the moms on YouTube back in 2019 prior to this pandemic to censor the mothers on there from sharing their information because they were raising awareness on YouTube. So they were censoring those mothers because they didn't want people to be hesitant when it came to, you
Yeah.
know, this is the idea when it came to 2020,
Yeah.
2021, when they're doing this mass vaccination program.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So how come your parents knew about which ones not to get and which ones to get?
I don't know. I don't know. I still haven't had this conversation with them.
Yeah.
It was very like, I still have to have that conversation again. Like, how did you know? It could have been from their parents too, but like, you and I, we had less inoculations than, the children now. And
Yeah.
children now have, and especially in the U.S. I think in the U.S. they have even more. The
Yeah.
kids in the U.S. have even more.
Yeah, I think it. So how do you handle that? I feel like there's just so much information. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes it's just a bit like, whoa, there's just so much coming. Do you know what I mean?
Oh
Like,
yeah. You think you know something, and then you're like, oh shit.
yeah. How do
Yeah.
you like make your way through it, or
How do I get through it? Sorry.
yeah, how do you
What
make
was the question?
how do you make your way through so much information, or like how do you not do it? Jokes.
I think my personality though, I love researching. So
Okay.
I think it comes natural to me where like I will just like if it interests me, I will sit there. Even like when I was reading Harry Potter books, like I
Yeah.
would just like sit there and just read them all because they were so good. So yeah, when it comes to truth, I love the truth too.
Mm,
And I love that feeling when you find something that resonates, that just sparks, right? It sparks your DNA, just sparks inside something inside you, and you start to remember everything. And it's like, ooh.
oh my god, that's
And then yeah. And then yeah, but sometimes like all that remembrance though requires your body to rest. Like I went through so many periods. Like 2020 was just like don't like information, like remembering, rest, and then the same thing over and over again until finally I feel like I'm at a space now where I'm not constantly tired all the time. Just yeah, deconditioning and re-downloading everything is what it feels like.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
How
think
about you?
I think that is a huge part of it. I definitely have to rest a lot. I think, yeah, the body, I don't know, I feel like sometimes during sleep, I'm getting something's going on as well. But for me, it's been a huge part. I need to have a lot of sleep. Yeah.
What
Yeah.
about food? Do you like eating food? Are you like a big foodie?
Yeah, definitely. But actually, you know what? Since last year, I think my body's what has needed like a much cleaner diet. But like, just taking that extra step, like, okay. And you?
I find that like substances, like pot or like I never really did pot, but when I do, like it's just too overly stimulating. And then same with drinking, overly stimulating. And now like coffee has been like overly
Uh,
stimulating. So yeah, definitely had to like just not do the pot or the drinking
yeah.
anymore. And then food is interesting because now I go to the supermarket and I don't want to be there anymore because I feel like none of this food is actually real. Like I
Yeah.
can feel it.
Yeah,
It's
no.
like why am I buying, like why am I here? Why am I buying this? Like none of this is going to nourish me at the end of the day. That's what it feels like. Yeah.
I noticed the other day, I was like, I don't want to spend for ages here. And whenever I go, I'm like in and out, you know? But it's
Yeah.
different when you go to like this organic grocers that's just fruit and veg. You're like, oh, I can stay. Yeah, you're having a good time.
Yeah. It's like a whole different thing. It's a whole different world. Yeah. But we have a food system that doesn't want us to be healthy.
Yeah, no.
Or I should say like a governing body that
Mm.
doesn't care for us to be healthy. Doesn't like I just heard today Justin Trudeau spent I think it was $630 million on this snap election. $630 million. Like could that have not gone to all the other issues they're talking about? Like the hospitals, like the care centers, the nurses, the doctors, the treatments.
Mm.
What are we doing? And the sad thing is that Canadians just sit back and they're just like, yeah, that's normal. That's not normal. That's
Hmm.
not normal. When it comes to issue, like the one thing I've really learned in all of my studies and just going through this awakening and stuff like that is it's like if you want to fix something, You have to get all the way down to the root. That's where the shit is. That is where the poison is. Get to the root, and then fix it there. Start mending the seed. Mend the seed, fix the seed, and then it'll flourish. But if you're just sitting there like, oh, look at this branch, it's not working, let's just fix that. None of that's gonna work. At the end of the day, it's just band-aids. You're just putting band-aids everywhere, on the tree trunk, on the bushes over here. You know, you got leaves over here that are dying because of all these EMFs, and like, what? Like, we're spending like, if you read, what's his name, David Hawkins, David R. Hawkins. Yeah, if you read his books, like, he talks about it too. It's like, you know, let's, I don't know what he says, but he's like, we're spending so much money. You don't have to spend all this money if you just give power. You empower people, you empower yourself, you fix the seeds. Like, you'll spend so, like, I'm gonna have to, but this is the way, this is the way things are designed.
Yeah, it's just gonna say that. This is
the big chaos.
Yeah, the point. This is the point.
Unhealthy.
Yeah, and I think that is one of the biggest pills to swallow, is to realize that everything was designed this way. Do you know?
It's designed this way. It's designed. Even the past year, I've been in the court system. I got to experience the court system. Same shit. Designed to fail. Design is just a bank, really. It's just a bank. And then if you get into your birth certificate and that whole shemangle. Yeah, I've just come into all of it. If you get into that, that's the root of the corruption. Yeah, no. You get into that and you reawaken from that. It's just mind blowing. Just woo! You're claiming your oath and all. It is. Fudge. Yeah, it's crazy. So at the end of the day, like, I think the spiritual awakening is the empowerment. That's really it, because you decondition yourself completely, and you're able to get back to who you are, and you're at home within yourself. And then you realize, like, if everyone chose to do what they knew they were here for, life would be so different. Oh, right? Ooh. That's where the juice is. Oh, I love that. So yeah, like just the Campbell said, is like, people are living lives that do not belong to them. We're all living lives, well, not all of us, but like a lot of us are living lives that do not belong to us. And that's why we're so unhappy. Yeah. And I find as well, like, now that a lot of people are afraid to speak out, you know, afraid to kind of like choose a side, afraid to be seen as like being associated with, you know what I mean? Yeah. Can't be afraid. not in this day and age. Yeah, man. I mean, yeah. I remember, like, 2020, summer 2020, I was still seeking permission from other people. Like, even from my coach. It was like, you know, I kind of want to do this. Like, is it okay if I speak up a little bit? You know? You're speaking up a lot now. Pardon? You're speaking up a lot now. Yeah, like now I am. But even back, like, summer 2020, my throat chakra was like inflamed. It needed some honey. Sorry, the lighting is so bad. there she is. Yeah, I'll just go like this. Wow. No. Where are you coming from? Where's the yellow coming from? That's horrible. Okay. So anyways, yeah. I was still looking for permission. As long as you look for permission from outside to speak up, you're gonna have issues. You're not gonna be able to speak up. You're gonna have a frog in your throat, because it's not coming genuinely from you, from your power, from your inner truth, from your authority. You know, that was the one issue I had like a year ago. Like, when I first started writing, I feel like, is it's like, how are people like just giving up everything? Yeah. Everything. Yeah. Because, like, I went to a movie theater. It was like, they had a sign posted on it, and it was like, sorry, we're closed right now. You know, we're gonna do everything we can to be healthy and safe, and we're going to look up to the health authorities for the next moves, something like that. And it's like, since when do we just give everything up to a top few that we, like here in Canada, we don't even know who's supplying all this science to make all these restrictions. Like they won't tell us who's doing it. So we don't even know. So yeah, it's just insane. It's insane.
I think part of the journey is really stepping into your power and reclaiming everything that was lost. So yeah, that's part of the process, and it can be a bit scary. How did you work on opening your throat?
Just do it. I know it's so cliche and it's so ridiculous, but you just do it. You just do it again and again and again and again. Yeah. And expect to be hated, or expect to have people not agree with what you're saying. And that's okay, and be okay with it. You have to be okay with it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you're going to try to please everyone, you're not going to do anything. Yeah.
It sounds like you had a lot of rapid growth spurts,
Yeah, I would say, yeah, I feel like that's accurate.
Yeah, because sometimes these things, they can take a while, to actually really ground and embody, like, okay, everything you're saying, it can take ages to get to the point where it's like, okay, now I'm comfortable to be myself. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, it did take me a while. Yeah. My 20s were like, I gave all my power away to my relationships. I gave them everything.
Yeah, man.
So, but yeah.
Yeah.
The path, when you're put in like a hot pot thingy though, and like, you have the government up your butt, doing all this stuff. Yeah, it accelerates. Like, I'm sure there's so many people that have accelerated their growth.
Yes.
Since 2020.
I think that's a good word, accelerate. Yeah, definitely.
Accelerated growth. The other thing I've noticed though is that I feel like I repel people. Not repel, but like people just don't bother me. They don't care to bother me. They don't care to question me. They don't come on my Instagram and start asking me. Like, they really don't. Like, I repel them.
I love that. That's it. That's what happens when a woman is in her power.
They're just like trying to find an angle to attack, but they can't find it.
Yeah.
I got shields. Shields everywhere, guys.
Yeah, and also I think that it's just when you are like dedicated to the truth, there are no holds here, because at the end of the day, like, I always think I'm not gonna try and disagree with something just for the sake of it. Like, if I'm wrong, then it's like, okay, there's no like bait here where you can just be like, oh yeah, because I'm seeking truth. So I like what you said there. There's like, they're not coming at you.
I don't know what it was.
And I read this other thing the other day. It was something like, people know that your heart is in the right place,
Yeah.
even if they might not agree, Yeah. Interesting. Throughout all of these realizations and all of the craziness that we start to see is happening in the world, has that given you a more of a place? Like, where do you find yourself within it, and for moving forwards into the future as well? Like, where do you think your energy is most of use? I feel like that's quite a big question. Like, now I know all of this, what do I do with it?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Like, I love writing. And the thing with writing though on Instagram with what I'm writing is that it's censored. So it's kind of a dead end in that sense.
Yeah, I know exactly how you feel.
It's a dead end. My views went from hundreds to 20 the other day. So that's just how it is. So I think I've always felt a pull recently just to get back into in-person, get back into real life, and like create community in my community, like real community. No more like stay like this virtual reality, like cool, keep that, but get back out there and connect with
I
in
love
person, heart to heart, and
it.
do the thing. And I
Mm,
feel like that's where
yeah.
my energy wants to go.
I love that. I think I've heard that a lot. I think a lot of people are feeling that right now. I think especially because of the lockdown and everything is probably even more of a want for that and with what's happening. But I also love how you said, the virtual, keep it, because I think a lot of time people are always like it's one or the other, but actually it doesn't really need to be,
Yes, for sure. I agree with that. Like it can be both. You can
Yes.
have both.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that's probably like one of the opportunities and maybe challenges as well is finding that community physically in the real world,
Yeah, yeah. I think if you put out the offer, if you go out there, they will come. The
Yeah,
people will come. The right people will always come, I feel like. But I will report back and let you know how it goes.
yeah, definitely.
But I think right now, like, we're gonna see like parallel communities
Yeah,
probably, like, right? You're gonna have the mainstream doing whatever they're doing over here right now, not letting me go and eat their hamburgers
yeah,
because I'm dirty. And then we're gonna have like the parallel where like we already have in Ontario, we have a group of people creating a directory with thousands and tens of thousands of businesses that are not going to discriminate, they're not going to segregate. Like we had that here in Ontario. Like it's always possible. There's always going to be a way. So yeah, we're creating like two
yeah,
parallel universes right now. And in this one, this is where I want to be. Where
yeah,
like we are creating our own community, we're creating our own sports leagues, babysitter clubs, like daycares, schools, private, like unschooling, homeschooling, like all that's happening. Restaurants, all of that.
yeah. I think I really like that what you said there. There's always going to be and there's always going to be businesses that are supporting the same
Yeah.
beliefs, and then also I feel like at the same time it's like we have to create it as well. you know
Yeah. The creators will create.
yeah, yeah,
Be beautiful. Do it.
yeah, yeah. That's really really nice. I love that. So how do you feel like where you are now with your healing, and I'm guessing as well this relationship that you described earlier, it didn't really start there, it was also from previous patterns and
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Trauma from my childhood.
Yeah,
That's where it begins. If you have trauma in your childhood, you're gonna repeat those patterns. You're gonna repeat the trauma until you've healed it. That's just the way it goes. At least that's been my experience. Sorry, so it's your question?
oh, that's so true. That is I completely, yeah, it's like completely just recurring until you can, and it's also like until you are open and ready enough to confront it, 'cause sometimes you're not quite there yet.
Yeah. Sometimes it takes that rock bottom,
Yes.
that
Is
kick in the gut.
Yeah.
Yeah, to
Do you
release it there. It,
feel
sorry.
sorry.
Sorry, I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine. Would you want to say something?
No, it's okay. Go.
Um, yeah, just where do you feel you are now in that process of like healing from that and that childhood trauma, I guess, and relationship and
I think there's always going to be work to do. I think we'll always have something that could be exposed and nourished and integrated
mm-hmm.
back into our psyche, back into our bodies. Um, but I feel like for the past while, I've been still holding on to fear and
Mm,
allowing fear to guide me, um, and really in a very protective kind of embodiment. And what I've been reflecting is that the thing that I haven't really completely surrendered to is surrender itself, first of all, and just allowing things to unfold. And like, it's so easy to say that you do that, that you're in the flow, you're in sacred flow, but sometimes like, there's that fear that you're holding on to. So yeah, I think I'm going to try that. That is my next experiment. And I'm a person that, you know, in human design, I'm a 3-5. I don't know if you follow human design. You follow human design? No? Okay. Well, in human design, you have these profiles, and mine is a 3-5. And it's the experimenter, I guess. And so, which resonates, like it resonates with my life, where a lot of trial and error, and then reporting back to humanity and say like, oh, this works and this doesn't work. So I think I'm in this other chapter now where I'm going to try something new, and see how it goes. Completely surrendering and just allowing things to unfold.
I feel like as well as sometimes that process is like I don't know, you can keep going, you can, and even it's not necessarily like an on-off switch, you know, you flow, you surrender, and then there's always more that you can surrender. You know what I mean? It's like you just keep going into it. Yeah.
I think one of the big lessons this year too is just the whole spiritual bypassing, though, is like, it's a real thing. I find that a lot of people are very judgmental, and they say, well, you can't, you can't talk to people that way. You can't just like expose stuff. You can't, like, there's a right way to do this. And it's like, well, this is my right way to do this. This is where I feel centered. This is where the juice is coming out of my gut. Like, this is how I'm supposed to show up.
Yes.
And each and every single one of us has our unique way of showing up in divinity and just expressing that divinity and that sacredness. So yeah, the spiritual bypassing, though, it's just, it has no place. Has no place over here. You can't just say, oh, well, that's like, you shouldn't talk about that because it's not light and airy and rainbows and
no, this is a huge thing. Like, it's quite crazy, but and also I feel like it's tied in with, everyone is at a different stage of their own journey. So like, do you know what I mean? It's like, how do we come together when everyone is on these different stops and places, and but ultimately I always feel like it comes down to what you're saying. It's like, just allow people to be themselves.
Yeah. I think, like, I personally have struggled with that, is allowing people to, like, letting go of control and like allowing people to be. And I think that could be why I attracted people too that, really wanted to restrict me and control me. And it's like a mirror of, maybe that's, I was projecting as well. So yeah, I've now come to a place where it's like, you do you. You do you. I'm going to support you. If this is what feels right for you, I'm here for you. You let me know what you need from me. Like, I'm there.
Yeah.
And like that feels so powerful for me to do.
Yeah.
And that's how I know that that's true. That's a true thing to do. And that's a true way to be. Like, I will empower you.
I like that.
I will support you.
Yeah. I like the word, how you use the word true, because it's like, how do you keep following that? What feels true, Yeah.
What feels true to you? And it's just, language can be so restrictive and controlling and down and negative, or it can be so damn powerful. And so, yeah, we get to choose our language. And like, I know sometimes I can be very abrupt and I can be very straightforward. And sometimes I feel, I don't know. Sometimes my posts may feel like down. I don't know. I don't really know. But there's a balance, I guess. There's a balance. There's a balance of everything. But I think I can always work on bringing that power, no matter what. No matter what. Always empower people.
Yeah, definitely. I think that is definitely comes across in your posts. Yeah. This is a really funny conversation, because it's like, it's like other people feel like they want to control you a bit, but it's actually just like, no, I'm good. Like, let me, in a way. but it's so and you see it in the comment section on Instagram, you know what I mean? And it's just like, I just find like sometimes there's this little game that's going around like this. It's so funny.
Sometimes I get sucked into the Instagram comment section more.
Yes. Do you know? Bad. Yeah, exactly.
Get in there. Yeah. I mean, it's enlightening, I guess. Like it's, you know, you get to see where people are coming from.
Yeah. That's so true.
But at the same time, I try to stay away from that. This is a waste of time.
yeah, exactly. But like you said, you know, I think in the end of it, when you're in your own empowerment, then it's like you can navigate the field. Do you know what I mean? Like you don't necessarily need to respond in a way that's gonna be, you know, tit for tat or whatever the energy is, you know. Then you can just be like, yeah, okay, this is where I am, you know, and just continue.
I had a childhood friend actually like recently asked me, she's like, because we were in a comment section somewhere and she was you know, asking questions, and she was just like, how can you have such strong convictions? And I'm like, that is a fantastic question. And I like, you know, I'm in a place now where like I am so, you know, empowered and, you know, in my truth, and just, you know, I trust myself to, you know, just to just be. I trust myself to just be who I'm meant to be. And it's like, yeah, I'm like, but that's a good question. It's such a good question. Like how are you, like how, but they like obviously they were angry. How are you so like how can you say this and be so confident in what you're saying? Right? And it's like such a good question.
Yeah, I think
what can I teach you? You know, what can this teach you?
Yeah.
What can my like me being here, what can that teach you?
It's true though as well, because I think sometimes when you've seen the things that you know you've dived into the rabbit hole and you've seen, then then there is definitely this feeling of just like, oh my God, like, you know, there's a knowledge that maybe not necessarily other people have seen, so you also do really want to, do you know what I mean, like powerfully just say this is it. You know, but obviously for some people they haven't really gone down to the rabbit hole.
Yeah. It's sometimes it can be so, it can suck. It can be so sad to be awake, even that, to be like in a different, you know, in a different zone or a different consciousness zone. It can be alone, lonely, it can suck, depending on where you are living in the world. Like I can't imagine me being me living in like a communist country, or you know, a place where women have like no rights. Like I can't imagine how like that would be like me being me now.
Yes.
Right. Being transplanted over there,
Yeah,
like that, my head would be on a stake.
that's so true.
Our heads would be on a stake. We just, you know,
it's crazy as well. I think what's happening right now is that it's becoming really more and more obvious, you know. And I know for me, I felt like more like, okay, you can talk now, like you have permission to speak. You know. So, and I think
now that more people are speaking, you feel,
not just because of what's happening in the world, just like, no, you need to speak, you know.
Yeah.
And then it's like, obviously, yeah, people like, I just think, you know, this whole thing about, you know, there's like a division. I think a lot of people say, you know, the division, don't fall into the division tactics, but at the same time, there's an actual real life split that's happening, you know. Yeah, and it's very interesting.
Yeah, the division is unreal, and it's really fueled by, you know, just look how easy it is to divide people through the media. It's so easy.
Yeah,
it's just so silly how easy it is.
How do you
having power? Imagine having that power to unite people.
Yeah, man.
Imagine using that media to unite.
Oh, I like that. Let's think about how we can unite people. Yeah, how do you find about this, what's happening now? Because I just think that just, you know, getting the injection and not getting it, like that's a huge one right there, you know. And I feel like it's not just that, it comes from years of beliefs at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean? It's like a whole system of being, you know. It's not just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get it or I'm not. And I just feel, yeah. How are you finding this whole kind of like two-way conversation that happens, and how do you navigate your way through that?
I'm very lucky that like my family is,
Yeah.
you know, so I haven't really had to have those really tough questions in person.
Nice.
It's
Yeah.
So I don't really have experience in that. What I have had is like men regretting their decision and reaching out. And seeing like
Wow.
my friends, um, you know, significant others, they're not going to get it, but their significant other feels so pressured to get it. And like I can't imagine being in that situation, especially if you know what you do know about what's going on. That would be, I don't know what I would do.
Yeah.
That's so splitting. That's so hard. To hold the space for that person, and you just work through that. Do you go your separate ways if that's something that you truly believe in?
Yeah.
Like people, like the division is so real that
That's what I mean.
divorce
Yeah.
is like whoop, right? It's so high.
That's what I mean. It's like it's here now. It's like here. Yeah.
And I guess, would you say that this is just part of the process, that people have to be split up in order to find themselves and then maybe come back in union? Or I don't know.
Exactly. It's so interesting. That's because then it's like, yeah, what is the union? Like how do we find that through it all, you know?
I
Yeah.
think it's really, I think it's heartbreaking. But once you get to that position of being heartbroken,
Yeah.
that's when everything starts to make sense, and that's when
I
you
love that.
realize that we are all one. So it takes getting to that space though of just like pure heartbreak.
I
And I
love
feel
that.
like and I feel like, ooh, I'm feeling emotional right now already, but I'm feeling like that we might, I think there's potential that we get to a space where we do things that we're not going to be proud of in 2 or 3 years. I think that possibility is still there. That people, do hurt each other to a very poor extent, to a very bad, like just dirty, just not dirty, but like just like a terrible space. And I really hope we don't get there. I
Yeah.
hope we smarten up before that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what do you think? What do you feel? How are you feeling?
It's
Trajectory is going to go.
it's so interesting. I feel like what we're talking about now, like, I think it's really not about like, you know, being from a place of higher authority or anything, or, you know, it's more just like we said, it's like being a seeker. That's what I think is happening. It's like you being open to knowledge and to truth and going down the rabbit hole. And then I feel like there is such a big difference now. I think it's just become so loud in the collective, the people who are going there and then the people who kind of aren't. And there isn't really like, oh, it's good or bad or anything. It's just the way that it is, you know. This is just the kind of like natural split that's kind of happening. And then for me, one thing that I feel very strongly now is like, I don't really want to try and like convince people and like bring them on, you know. There's something that's just like, no. You know, that's not the point. So now I think it's more like, no, just find the tribe, the people that are resonating, and then go and create, you know. It's more just like finding the people that are resonating on the same vibe and then just coming together, you know, rather than trying to like communicate with everyone. But I don't know, I feel like I don't know what the split is going to look like, because I feel like it's definitely happening, you know, but it's hard to kind of like envision it. But also what you said earlier about like parallel timelines and communities being created, I think that's definitely going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe the push just isn't there yet.
Yeah.
Like people are still I think we're holding out to hope for the best. I think that's what we're holding on to. We're holding on to hope. We have so much hope that things are not going to go to the shits.
Yeah.
To like to the worst, to like the part where like people are shipped off on cars to camps and stuff like that. That's what we're hoping is not going to happen. Right? I feel like we're holding on to that hope.
Yeah, it's interesting because it is kind of like how far until you get to the point where you're like, no, this is enough. You know.
I mean, yeah. What's your instinct like? My instinct sometimes is like, okay, it's time to go. Like let's just dip for a bit, and you guys can do your thing, and then I'll come back when you guys have figured what you're doing.
Yeah, this is the thing. I think for me, I know that if that comes, I'll do it, and you know what I mean. But I don't think it's come yet. You know, it's not like okay. Well, who knows, man? Sometimes I also think, but wherever you are, it's just craziness happening everywhere right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I love when people say like, in order for us to create new, though, like something has to be destroyed. Like the system has to crumble to a certain point in order for us to breathe fresh air.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's just a crazy time, I think, right now. This is just a really crazy time.
Yeah. I hope all the shit hits the fan whoosh, whoosh, and we get to see everything for what it is. I hope everything gets exposed. All of it.
Yeah.
There's so many people that are like not speaking up because they're afraid, because they're gag ordered, because it's their livelihoods. But you know, eventually I hope that they get the call and they accept the call and they speak out, because that'll be just so powerful.
Yeah.
Like people in hospitals, you know, doctors, nurses, they come out and they tell us the truth.
Yeah.
The truth.
Yeah. I think people already are, but there must be loads of people who aren't. And also I feel like I like that. I hope that happens. And you know, people always say the truth eventually comes out, you know. Well, like I hope it does. Yeah.
Yeah. Hopeful. I guess hope is what we're holding on to.
Yeah. Nice. So I want just want to ask a few questions to wrap it up. Okay. So what advice can you give to anyone who might be going through a similar experience with abusive relationships?
With abusive relationships, if you're in one, or are you out? I guess there's two different mentalities. But if you're inside of one, find somebody you can talk to that's unbiased, or even if you can see a therapist, do that. Lundy Bancroft is an expert in domestic abuse. He worked with thousands of abusive men, so he knows exactly how they're thinking. So his books are phenomenal. There's one called Why Does He Do That? And then there's another one called Wisdom for Why Does He Do That? And that one's like, it's like, I forget what they're called, but every day there's a focus, and it's just phenomenal. Just so good. So good. Yeah, those two. And if you're in an abusive relationship, hide your books. I know it sucks, but hide them. Reach out to any women's support group that you have. That is monumental. If you have one in your city, reach out to them for sure. I wish that was an accelerator for me. I wish I would have just called, because that would have saved me a lot of time. But you know, things happen the way that they're supposed to. Yeah. If I'm glad I left when I did leave, which was 2019, because if I would have waited and left like 2020 when this was all happening, it would have been worse for me. My situation. And then if you're outside, if you're out of it already, like you've already left, and you're doing recovery, definitely look up, I have a channel too called Her Sage Advice on Instagram, and I post a lot of domestic abuse stuff, so you can look at that. And then Melanie Tanya Evans, I think that's her name, Melanie Tanya Evans. She has a specific narcissistic abuse recovery course and a book. She has a book. You Can Thrive After Narcissistic Abuse, and that one's amazing.
Wow.
So yeah. Oh, and then my favorite is Clarissa Pincola Estes. She's a Mexican psychoanalyst. Women Who Run with the Wolves. That one's the best. That will just ignite everything in your psyche. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. That sounds like really useful. Thank you.
I mean, there's tons of stuff. You can always contact me too.
Yeah.
You can contact me, and I'll help, and as much as I can, because there's a lot that goes behind the recovery after that. Yeah.
And then I'm gonna just say the same question for like anyone waking up to the corruption and craziness and manipulation that's happening right now as well. Do you have anything to say, to offer about that? Someone who's just coming into all of this.
It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be fine. It can be a lot at times, so take breaks, rest, and just let things ferment. Let things settle. Yeah. Don't react, respond. And surround yourself with really good people. And like, you'll find, if you don't have any other, guys around you or girls around you that are into this, just, you'll find them. Keep surrounding yourself.
Love that.
Yeah.
Cool. And then just, final one is, what does freedom mean to you?
Oh God. Whoa.
Big question.
That is a big question. Freedom, first of all, freedom is like my number one priority. I feel like that's my holy grail.
Yeah, feel that.
Freedom is everything. Freedom is, to me, is the ability to just be. I think simply, it's just being you. That's freedom. The ability to allow whatever source wants to come, whatever source wants to bring through to you, that's freedom. That's freedom. When you get to dance with the wind, you get to dance with life, you get to dance with spirit, that's freedom. That's freedom to me. And if you don't have freedom, things are not harmonious, because freedom is harmony. Freedom is love. Freedom is joy. Freedom is like just this, I don't, like, if you could like encapsulate it, just like, it's just, it's everything.
That's great.
It's like,
I love that one.
It's my peanut butter jelly sandwich. What's freedom? I want to know. This is such a good question. What's freedom mean to you? I want to know.
It is. I'm the same. Freedom is like my number one. It's so important. And obviously there's a way where, there are always going to be some limitations, but I guess for me as well, it's just, the ability to just be yourself completely, truly, fully, and also I agree, I think it's like a natural state, but we have to get through so much of all this conditioning that has taught us specific things, and like, oh, we're not allowed to do that, you're not allowed to do, oh, you're not allowed to do and then to get right back to this kind of like source of just like, oh yeah, actually I am, and I can, and I will.
Yes. Yeah. Just like, it's breaking free. It's like that song by Queen, I Want to Break Free. It's like literally just breaking free from all the chains.
Yeah.
That
and sometimes we don't see them.
That have whipped you, that have put you inside of a cage since you were a baby.
Yes.
Growing up, right?
Yeah.
Letting go of all those things. Yeah.
And
now you can do it.
Yeah, and it's an interesting question now as well for what's happening in the world, because it's like all these mandates and all these things coming in. It's like, hang on a minute, what happened to my freedom?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. If you don't have freedom, you don't have entrepreneurs. Like entrepreneurs, like you don't have all these businesses. You don't have these small businesses. You don't like imagine everything being so stifled. Like this is what I was thinking. Like why would you need a branding agency? Why would you need to hire a branding agency if you don't have the freedom to create what you are divinely here to create? Like, what's the point? So you kill all of these businesses. You kill that spirit, that business spirit.
Yeah.
But yeah, you need freedom. Like you can't live without it. Come on. Don't toss it away.
Come
You
on.
need it. You don't understand it.
Yeah.
It's so important, so crucial.
But I feel like for your well-being.
Yeah.
Because it's also like what you're saying is tied into creativity there.
Yeah.
And it's like
freedom of expression, right? Freedom of expression.
Yeah.
Dancers, movers.
Yeah.
Creating whatever you're here to create.
Yeah. I feel like even though everything is happening right now, I just feel like I'm just gonna keep following my freedom and that's it. I'm good. Thanks.
Keep following your freedom, your truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna be all right. We're gonna be all right, you know?
Yeah, we'll be fine. It's all good.
Oh. Thank you
so much. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so nice talking to you. Thank you. Thanks for sharing the story as well.
I hope this was okay.
Yeah, really good. Yeah. Excited to share this one. And yeah, I'll put some episode notes in there and your Instagram link as well. And yeah, keep on spitting the truth.
Just keep doing what you gotta do.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much, Jess. This was awesome.
Thank you.
I appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Take care.